Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this video lesson. Let's talk about the in-class project where you're supposed to generate a Fibonacci number based on the user request. So in this case, if the user enters the number 5, and then if we click on display numbers, as you can see, the first 5 Fibonacci numbers are displayed. Obviously, whatever the user clicks in here or enters in here, we're going to display it down here in this label. Alright, so let's talk about the strategy of how we're going to solve a problem like this. Well, the first thing that we know is that the first two numbers of the Fibonacci number are 0 and 1. So what I'll do is I'll just put Fn to represent the first number, and then Sn will represent the second number. And we know that the first number is going to be 0, the second number is going to be 1, and then I'll just put Tn to represent the third number. And the third number is going to be the summation of the first two. So that'll be 0 plus 1, so therefore it's going to be 1. Alright, to get ready for the next number, well, that would be the addition of the next, or the previous two, I should say, which is 1 plus 1, so the next number will be 2. But I don't want to create a fourth number like this, Fn. Instead, why don't we use this technique? Let's assign the second number to the first number, so we'll move 1 over here into Fn. We'll take the third number and we'll assign that to the second number. And so that'll be over here. So now first number has been reassigned to 1, second number has been reassigned to 1, and then the third number will be the addition of these two, which is going to be the number 2. Alright, again, in the same way that we did the previous time, we'll just take the second number and we'll move it into the first number, so that's going to be 1. We'll take the third number, we'll move it into the second number variable, that'll be 2. We'll add those and then put it into the third number, which is going to be 3. Alright, so as you can see here, we're going to keep this procedure up for several more iterations. So I'll move the 2 over here, I'll move the 3 over here, and that's going to be 5. I'll move the 3 over here, I'll move the 5 over here, and that's going to be 8. Alright, so notice that of all these columns, let me put a line over here to represent these columns. Of all these columns, you'll see that the first number column has all of the Fibonacci numbers from the first number. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, and so forth and so on. All of these other columns are used to temporarily hold second and third number, Fibonacci numbers that is. So it looks like if we output Fn, or the first number, then we're going to be able to output whatever the user wants in terms of the Fibonacci numbers. So what I see here is a repetition structure. And so anytime you see a sequence of numbers, always think repetition structure. Alright, so that's the way to think about how to approach a problem like this. Now, another thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to learn how to either develop a flowchart or a pseudocode that will help you understand the flow of the program. And a great program to do that is Visio. So let me go ahead and open up Visio. And let's see here, that should be in my Office 2013. Let's see, let me look for Visio. There it is, Visio 2013. I love this program because it allows you to create flowcharts. And flowcharts are very important for the computer scientist, especially beginning computer scientists, because they help you develop the flow of your program. How is this thing going to work? So you'll see what I've done over here is I've started off with the start shape, which is this guy over here. So I just simply drag and drop it, the start end, type in start. The next thing I typically do is I indicate those items that are going to be part of my declarations. So I think about what are those things that I need? Well, for sure I need to get the user number. I need to establish a counter because I'm going to be looping through this thing. Here's my first number, second number, third number variable that I'm going to need to keep track of the Fibonacci numbers. I'm going to display an output because what I want is a number with a space, another number with a space, and so forth and so on. So I'll just generate an output string variable. And then I'm going to ask if the number is valid. So over here, is user number valid? At first I'll set this as I'll declare this as a bool and I'll set it equal to false because I want to ask if the user has entered a correct number. If they entered -3 or if they entered 0, that's not valid. So it's got to be a number greater than 0 in terms of how many Fibonacci numbers do you want. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is to use, oops, sorry about that, it's very sensitive here. I'm going to use a diamond to represent a while statement. Now, the reason why I know that this is a while statement is because I see that there is an arrow that goes right back into it. And so therefore I know this is a while statement and not an if statement. In this diamond shape, I'm going to ask a question. Is the user number valid? Well, you'll notice over here that I started off with user number valid false. So is false equal to false? Yes, it is. So since that's the case, this is going to be a true statement. Now, we will take this path down here, and I've double clicked over here and I've typed in true. If it was false, let me just double click over here, type in the word false, and then we would take this path. I don't like that crooked line. Let me see. Click this and hit the up arrow. Looks like I'm always going to get that little bit of stair step situation. I don't like that, but anyway, that's okay. If it's true that the user number is not valid, then we're going to do this. We're going to print number of Fibonacci digits to display. In other words, we're going to ask the user again to enter the number of Fibonacci numbers to display. Now, I say the word print because that's a very general term, because I don't know if I'm going to write this in Visual Basic, C++, C#, Objective-C, Swift, who knows what programming language that I'm going to use. So typically, we use a very general word like print, and then the more specific term for outputting data or outputting statements to the console can be based on whatever language you're using. All right. Well, whatever the user number is going to be, I will use this shape, this rhombus shape here. Typically, that's used for input and output. So I'm going to input that variable, or input that number, and put it into the variable user num. So let's say, for example, if I say number of Fibonacci digits to display and the user enters 5. So then user number is now going to be assigned the number 5. All right, so if that's the case, let me ask the question. Is the user's number that they just entered greater than 0? Because if it's not, we're still going to make this is number valid flag false. And then you'll notice that we go down over here, we go back up. Let me scroll up a little bit so you can see what happens. This goes all the way back up and then back into this diamond shape. So again, this is a while statement. As long as the valid is user num valid is false, then we're going to keep on asking the user to enter the number of Fibonacci digits to display. All right. Now let's say that they finally enter a number like 5. Okay, is 5 greater than 0? That's true. So since that's the case, we take this path. All right, is the user number valid? Yeah. So, I'm sorry, is the user number greater than 0? It is, because they entered 5. So therefore, since this is true, we set is user num valid to true. Now again, we go back over here through this path, we go all the way back up, and notice that we go back to that diamond shape, which represents our while statement, or a looping structure. And since this true is equal to false, that's a false statement. So now what happens? We go over here. So notice what I'm doing. I'm establishing a counter, setting it equal to 0. Now, I have this diamond shape, and I know that that's a while statement because, again, I see an arrow going right back into it. So that tells me that this is a while statement. All right. While the counter is less than user number. If that's true, what am I going to do? I'm going to append. Now remember, what a word append means, it doesn't mean replace, it means add to. So whatever the first number is, append that to the output. Well, at first, the output's going to be blank. So therefore, we are going to append first number to the output. Then I'm going to assign third number to the addition of the first number and the second number. First number is going to be assigned second number is going to be assigned third number. We increment the counter. So what this is doing is what we have over here in my notes, this swapping business or the moving business where I move the second number to the first number, the third number to the second number, and we keep on doing that, so forth and so on all the way down. That's exactly what this assignment is doing over here. We increment the counter so that we can do this again, and so in essence this is going to display however many numbers the user wants. Okay, when we are finished, then we're done with the program, so we can do something like this. We can just simply take this guy over here, move it over here like this, say for example, and I want to connect from here to here. There's a couple ways of doing that. If I hover on top of here and select this arrow or this triangle that appears, if I click on that, you'll see that a line is automatically created, and then over here I can just simply say end of program. Another way to do that is as follows. Let me select this line. I'm going to delete it. And what I can do also is I can use the connector tool. And what the connector tool does is it allows me to hover on top of this connector node. I'm going to click, hold down the mouse pointer, and go all the way to this node over here, let go, and then you can see what happens. It draws a line. Make sure you go back over here to the pointer tool. Alright, I want this to be what happens when it's false. So I double click on this guy over here, type in the word false, and now you can see clearly when this is true, we do this. When this is false, we do this. In essence, we're just ending the program because we're displaying the numbers that the user wants to see. Okay, so let me save my work. This is a great program. You should download this from DreamSpark when you get your DreamSpark account because it allows you to create really nice, professional-looking Visio flowcharts. So let me zoom out over here a little bit so you can see what this looks like. So I've taken a page and made it landscaped, and so as you can see clearly I have more than enough space. So I think I'll just take this over here. Let me center it over here. I could put some additional information over here created by, Fibonacci flowchart, whatever. And then I'll just go ahead and save this. And then I'll save this also as a PDF file so that I can give this to you as well. So let me just do that really fast. Let's see here. We're going to keep it over here in flowcharts, and we'll save this as a PDF document. That looks good. Let me just go ahead and click Save. Very good. And I'll send this to you guys on Blackboard later on. But the idea is you should be developing flowcharts now, especially for these more complicated programs. Another way to do this is to create a pseudocode, and a lot of programmers like to do that in C++, or I'm sorry, in the actual language that they're using. Or you can use a program like Word, say for example, for developing pseudocode. So it's up to you, however you want. I personally like seeing a flowchart because I like to see things big picture, and then I'll usually go to pseudocode, and then I'll usually go to the actual program. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you how you can go from here to C++. So let me switch over here to C++. I'm going to start a new project, and this will be my C++ project, Win32 console. This is going to be my CS225 in class project, week 2, day 2. And I'll just call this Fibonacci. Oops, sorry. I think I typed in too many letters here. I'll just do this, that's fine. And I'll click OK. And I want to make this an empty project. And that's finishing up, very good. So I'm going to right click on top of Solution Explorer, or I should say right click on top of Source Files, add a new item, and I'm going to add a C++ file. It's going to call it source, that's fine. Click add. We're going to start off with our typical boilerplate code, which is IOStream, using namespace, std, int main, system pause. I do this so that we can take a look at what the program looks like at the end of its run. Return 0. Alright, so I'm going to type in some comments such as declarations, get user input. Oops, let me spell that correctly here. Calculation, and then finally output. Alright, now I'm going to be switching back and forth between my Visio flowchart and C++. So the first thing that I've got to do is I've got to declare a bunch of these variables. So usernum is a whole number. Okay, so let me go back over here. Usernum, because in C++ this is how we declare whole numbers. We use the word int. It looks like counter has to be a whole number, so counter. First number. Did I say first num or first number? I said first num. Okay, so I'll just put first num. And it looks like I've got second and third num. Okay, so int second num, third num. And what else do I have? It looks like I have an output string. Well, if I have a string, then I better include the string library. So we'll say include string. And now I can go ahead and create a string output. Now the flowchart does not tell me to initialize this to nothing. I just do that out of habit. In fact, I could do that to all these. I could initialize these to 0. So I'm initializing my string to nothing, right? Nothing in there. Okay, and then is user num valid as a boolean? Set that to false. Okay, so that's going to be a type bool. Is user num valid? I think that's what I called it. Is user num valid? Okay, and I'm going to assign that to false at first. So I'm going to assume that the user number is not correct, so that we can enter into the while loop as described over here. Okay, so now let me scroll down and let me go into the get user input section. And over here it says, oh, sorry about that, this thing's kind of touchy. There's a while statement. Is user num valid equal to false? Okay, so while is user num, if that's equal to false, and I'll put the open and close brackets. Recall that this over here, single equal symbol in C++ is assignment. Two equal symbols is asking a question. Is this equal to this? And if it is the case that these two are equal, well, then it looks like I'm supposed to print a message. Number of Fibonacci digits to display. Okay, so in C++, that's a cout statement. So we'll say number of Fibonacci digits to display. What am I supposed to do after that? Looks like I'm supposed to read the user number. Well, in C++, that means cin. And we're going to put that into user num. What else am I supposed to do? Okay, so after that, it looks like there's another while statement that says, actually, this is not a while statement. This is an if statement because we enter into here, and we're either going to branch and do the false part, or we're going to branch and do the true part. So over here, is the user number equal to 0? So I think what I'll do is I'll just simply put that in the form of an if statement. We'll say if the user number is greater than 0. Now, if that's true, then what are we going to do? We're going to assign is user number valid to false. So is user number valid, we'll assign that to false. Now, what if that's true? Or, I'm sorry, what if that's false? Then I'll have an else statement over here, and that will say is user num valid. We'll assign true to that. So is user num valid, we'll assign that to true. Just as you see over here in the flowchart. Now, I don't need the curly braces. I think I just do that out of habit. If you're only going to be typing one statement after the else statement or one statement after the if statement, technically speaking, you don't need those curly braces. You can just simply get away with something like this. But if it's more than one statement, then you have to definitely put the curly braces. So this is what we've got so far in our while statement. And then notice that we go back over here to the top. So let me scroll back to the top. We scroll back over here, and then we ask this question again, if the user number is valid or not. So looks like this is it for our while statement. And we're going to keep on doing this over and over and over again until finally the user enters the correct number. All right, so once the user has done that, then notice over here, if it's false that the user number valid is equal to false, for example, if it's true that the user number is valid, that's not equal to false. So then we jump out of the while loop. And what do we do when we jump out of the while loop? Looks like I'm going to assign counter to 0. So what I'll do is this. I'll go to the calculation section, and I'll say counter is assigned to 0. And what am I supposed to do next? Looks like this is a while statement again, and I know that because this arrow is going back into this particular diamond shape. So while the counter is less than user num. Okay, so we'll say this, while the counter is less than user num. Okay, I'm going to put a curly braces around there. Now, if that is in fact the case, then it looks like I've got to append first num to the output. Okay, so whatever output is, we're going to take the old version of the output, and I'm going to append whatever the user num is. So I'm going to need the toString function to append whatever user number is. Now, did the flowchart tell you to do that? No, it did not. It didn't tell you about toString. That's one of those things that you have to know about a particular language that you're using, that you're going to take a number, convert that to a string so you can append it to a string, or you can concatenate it to a string. And then what this is going to do is it's going to take the old value of output and it's going to add to it. So another thing I didn't indicate on the flowchart is that perhaps I want a space in between the numbers. So why don't we do this? Let's output the number, and then let's also append a space or concatenate a space after the number has been displayed. And actually, that's wrong. It shouldn't be user number. Let me go back over here. It looks like it should be first num. Sorry about that. I'm speaking so quickly here that I didn't pay attention. That's supposed to be first num. So let's append first num to the output in addition to a space, and then what are we supposed to do after that? Looks like we're supposed to assign the addition of first num and second num to third num. Okay, so third num is going to be first num plus second num, and then first num is going to be assigned whatever second num is, and then we're going to assign third num to second num, and third num like this. Alright, and then it looks like we're going to increment the counter. Okay, so the counter is going to be incremented by 1, so we'll just put plus plus. Alright, so we keep on doing this while loop over and over and over again, as you can see over here. Right? Keep on doing this over and over and over and over again. And then finally, when it's done, we can display the results. Now, the one thing I didn't do really well on my program or on my flowchart here, I just said end of program, but I didn't really display the results, so I think that's erroneous. I shouldn't have done that. Let me take this, let me delete it, and whoops, there we go, delete it. And I'm going to take this guy over here and I'm going to delete it. And what I really should have done is I should have taken a shape like this. I should have put it over here, something like this. Say, for example, let me hover on top of that triangle and create that line. Perfect. Double click over here and I should have said write output, which you will have to translate that as display the value of the output to the console. Alright, so once I've done that, then I can go ahead and move this shape over here, something like this. And then I can hover on top of this triangle right here, and will it go down? No, I won't do it, so let me just go ahead and click on the connector tool and go from here to here. Ah, there we go. Let me go back to the pointer tool. I'm going to double click on this guy and type in false. And then over here, I'm going to say end of program. So what we'll do is we'll take that diamond shape. We'll keep on doing this over and over and over again. When this is false, we'll write the output, and then from the output, we'll go to the end of the program. So what I'm going to do is switch over here, and at the output section, I'll just simply go over here, and I'll say cout whatever the value of output is. And then I'll put an end line statement over here, and that's going to go to the beginning of the next line. Alright, so let me click Save All, and let's run the program and see what happens. So I'm going to click Build, and uh-oh, there were some build errors. Let's see what's going on. No, I don't want to continue. So let me go back over here, and let's see what happened here. Let me double click over here, and it says that uninitialized local variable first num used. Okay. When you see this type of error, what Visual C++ is worried about, or Visual Studio in this case, is that you are using a variable that has not been declared. And especially since it's inside of a while statement, it may have random values that you don't want to necessarily display. So one way to get around that is just to initialize everything. So in this case, I'll initialize everything to 0. So let me go ahead and do this, copy, and do this for all of my different variables. Now, the only reason why I have to do this especially is if there are variables inside of a while statement or inside of an if statement, they may not be initialized to anything. So by initializing everything to 0, that should get rid of that problem. So go ahead and save all, go to build, rebuild solution. Let's see here, it looks like everything was successful. Very good. So now let me run the program and enter a number of Fibonacci digits to display. So let's say that I want to see 5 of them. I press enter. Uh-oh. Looks like I've got another problem over here. It's going automatically over and over and over again, looping through the program. Let me stop this and let's see what's going on. So if I scroll down, and oh, I see what the problem is over here. If the user number is greater than 0, that should be true. So what we have here is a logical problem. That's big time no-no. So let me go over here and see, did I do something wrong in terms of my assignment in my flowchart? Let's see here. If the user number is greater than 0, then we want to assign user number to true. So you know what happened? I was speaking so quickly in the process of making this video, I made a mistake. Logically, this is correct. If the user number is greater than 0, is user num valid should be assigned to true. You're probably all thinking right now, Professor Solis, we told you that. We could see the problem that you were creating. Hey, you know what? This is what happens when you talk too fast and when you type too fast. You make errors like this. Logical errors are not good. I should have seen this and assigned this. So I'm glad that I made this error and showed and recorded it for you so that you can see what it looks like when you make an error like this and how you can correct it. Alright, so now let's run the program and let's see if it works now. Okay, so let me type in the number 5. Uh-oh, it looks like I'm all zeros, so that's not good. So let's see what's going on over here. And I'm going to scroll down to the calculation section. So it looks like we're taking whatever the output is, we're going to assign it to whatever first num is. First num is going to be the addition of second and first. First num is going to be second, second is going to be third. The counter goes as long as the counter is less than the user number, output the value of first num. Okay, so I think that everything looks good. Oh, I know what the problem is. Back over here, at the very beginning of the program, I didn't assign second number appropriately. Because, as I mentioned over here in my notes, let's see here, where are my notes? Over here, there we go. The first number is supposed to be 0, the second number is supposed to be 1. I didn't do that. I didn't assign the second number to 1. Alright, now that I've done that, it should work. So let's see what happens. Let me save all. Let me run the program again. Would you like to build it? Yes. Okay, give me 5 numbers. Here we go. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. Yep, those are the first 5 numbers of the Fibonacci sequence rather. Let me go ahead and type in 20, say for example, and let's see if this is correct. So 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, so 5, 8, 8 plus 5 is 13, that's 21, that's 34. Okay, we're looking good, and as you continue to look at these previous numbers, add the previous 2, you should get the next number. Okay, everything looks good. So now I can save my work, and we are done. Alright, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.